Ms. Jessica Tan.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I'm speaking today on both the Penal Code Amendment Bill and the Bill on the Amendment to the Constitution, as many of my residents have reached out or written to me since PM's National Day rally speech on the repeal of Section 377A. They had asked that I share their concerns and seek clarification to address the apprehension. This is a difficult topic with differing views, but an important one for all Singaporeans. At this point, I should share that my personal views on this as well. And I will say that it took me quite a long time to write this speech. My speech is not long, don't worry, but it took me a long time to write it because I had to ask myself, where do I stand on this? And as a parent, and also being an MP for the last 16 years and seeing my residents and when they come to me with their issues, I have a very firm belief that the family is the cornerstone of society. And I really believe it is the source of strength and it's also the source of weakness. And therefore, I do cherish the traditional definition of family. And, being a parent for about 30 years, more than 30 years now, and being married for 32 years, over 32 years, I will say to you, as much as I think I'm a good mother, I've realized that my husband and myself play a very important role for our 3 children. And I do want to preserve and protect that definition of family. So let me now summarize the apprehensions expressed by my residents and what they center around. 1, the safeguarding and the definition of marriage as a union between man and a woman, and pro-family policies such as public housing, education, adoption rules, and media standards. 2, that the repeal of Section 377A will encourage gay activists to push the agenda much further, and this may cause reactions and divisions in Singapore, as we see happening in many countries in the world. And the concern of my residents is really the divisions and what it may cause. And 3, protecting people from being pressured, bullied, or discriminated against when they do not support the same ideas and beliefs, whether to retain or to repeal Section 377A. Many have shared that they feel that Section 377A is a unique Singapore compromise. Its non-enforcement means our colleagues, friends, neighbors, and family members who identify themselves as homosexuals are able to live out their lives, their private lives, while protecting gay values from becoming mainstream. It has worked for Singapore, so the question is, why the need to make the change now? Minister Shanmugam has explained the circumstances that there are real risks that Section 377A can be struck down. Section 377A has been challenged as unconstitutional and continues to be challenged. The courts have judged that such matters are sensitive societal issues and it is for Parliament to decide. But the point is that if Parliament does nothing, the courts will have to do what it has to do when it has to do it. And when that happens, the apprehensions that have been expressed will become real. It is precisely that the government, hearing the views of the majority, is acting. It is easier for the government to do nothing. And in fact, politically, actually, much, much easier. But given how controversial this issue, especially given how controversial this issue is, however, that would be extremely irresponsible, as there is real risk and the very definition of marriage and the pro-family policies that the majority want to protect will be challenged, as we are already seeing in several countries. On the point of why we keep 377A, I think it's also important that I also share feedback that I've received from residents that have friends, colleagues, and neighbors and family members, as I've shared, who are gay members. They, and even those that have asked for the repeal of 377A, do not view it as a crime that what consenting adult gay men have and do in private. But what it stems more from the fact that of the fear of what it means after that. So what the repeal of 377A really does is it removes the stigma and the hurt that the gay in our community have been feeling. And they make us, and I want to say that gay males are fellow Singaporeans, as they are and they can be your neighbor, your co-worker, your friend, or even your family member. They contribute to and are part of our society, and they too deserve dignity and respect. Now let me touch on the proposed amendment to the Constitution and the insertion of the new Article 156 and whether they will be sufficient to safeguard the definition of the institution of marriage and the associated pro-family policies. The new Article 156, subsection 3 and subsection 4 seek to protect the definition of marriage in such laws like the Women's Charter, the administration of the Muslim laws, and laws that confer rights and benefits on or in relation to persons merit under those enactments from constitutional challenges. Pro-family policies of the government, example in regard to housing, education, and media standards, will therefore also be protected. But the anxiety is if this would make it easy for change, as it will only require a simple majority to amend the definition of marriage. I've received feedback from some asking that the definition of marriage be directly in the Constitution so as to require a two-thirds majority and not just a simple majority to affect such a radical redefinition. The proposed amendment, I feel, is a balanced one as it protects the traditional definition of marriage and pro-family policies while allowing our future generations to decide on societal norms. To give further reassurance, DPM Wong has given PAP's commitment that the definition of marriage as that of the union between man and a woman and will not change under the watch of the current leadership of PM Lee, and if the PAP government were to win the next general election, it would not change under his watch. Those are reassurance that have been given. And I think that that's a balanced approach and one that does seek to protect the definition that the majority want to hold. Finally, I'd like to talk about the cancel culture and bullying. We are hearing strong sentiments and differing views with the debate around the repeal of Section 377A. From the reactions and feedbacks shared, an area that is of concern and we must address is that of bullying and a cancel culture. Youth and working professionals have approached me and expressed fears and anxieties with gay activism. Some have shared that while they accept their friends and family who identify as gays, they find it difficult to voice their opinions when they do not share their values and ideas for fear of being labeled, bullied, or cancelled in school or at the workplace. The fear, real or perceived, is that the repeal of 377A will amplify this activism. But similarly, I'd like to caution us that with the debate on this repeal, we are also seeing a heightened attention on those that identify as gay. I also have residents expressing concerns of possible discrimination against those who identify themselves as gay. So what is clear is that this is a subject that matters to many, regardless of whether we support or support the repeal or the retention of Section 377A. What we cannot allow is for any persons, regardless of which side they stand, to be labeled, discriminated, or bullied. Minister Shanmugam and MOS Sun Xueling have shared that the agencies are looking at ways to ensure that discrimination is not tolerated. I would ask, and I would ask for more to be shared as to what the details of these are and to reassure individuals and groups that there are clear protections from discriminatory pressures, a cancel culture, and bullying in society, in schools, and/or at the workplace. The societal values and definition of marriage, family, and policies affecting our children are important for Singapore and Singaporeans. As we have done before, I do appeal to all. Regardless of where we stand on this matter, we must work together and not allow this to divide us. I do believe that while the amendments strive to provide the legislation to preserve and protect our social norms, how we act will determine the Singapore we have today and in the future. I support the amendment to the Penal Code Amendment, as well as the amendment to the Constitution. Thank you.